Today, we're looking at Noodler's Army. Hi, I'm Adam, and I'm an ink guy. I get inks, test them, and share the results with you. Now, Noodler's Army is a green ink, but before we get to the writing samples, let's take a look at the sciencey bits. I agree with Vita that doing multiple chromatographies over the years has taught me a lot about inks. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. I put a line of ink down, I put it in water for 10 to 15 seconds, and I let it creep up the page. Here we see that it immediately starts to flee. There's a light gray line left behind, but then we get this yellow to green and a very thin dark green at the very top. I see spots of blue on the side. Now the one on the right I let dry for 10 minutes before I dunk it into the ink, and it looks the same. Little bit darker line on the bottom, little bit not as far, but basically unaffected for let dry. Resistance tests are done to see how this ink can be expected to hold up on the page, but more importantly for me, and why I care about them, how hard would this be to clean out of a pen? I let the smear dry for 3 days before testing it. What I found, it doesn't matter that it dried for 3 days. Look at the highlighter. I put the highlighter down and it's immediately moving all over the place. It's feathering up. That's good news for pen cleaning, bad news for note taking. The water pulled a lot off the page. The water wound up making a lot of it get up and go. Not all of it, but a lot of it. Pen Flush did the same thing. Pen Flush got a lot of it moving, almost all of it off the paper. I don't know that you would need to get as far as Pen Flush cleaning the pen, but bleach totally removes it from the page. There should be no reason for bleach in a pen with this ink, but it will completely annihilate it. This is a bell curve, or a normal distribution. For the 365 inks I have tested, I have found an average viscosity of 2.5, and the range of normal goes from 2.1 to 2.9. Noodler's Army has a viscosity of 1.74. That means it's a wet, flowy ink. Being a wet, flowy ink, that's what helps it have really good shading. It also means that this ink can perform very well in your drier pens. I know people avoid the dry pens because they want that rich color, but this ink, being a high flowing ink, will still give you that very rich color. This is a bell curve for the average dry time. Now I've tested 365 inks and I have found the average dry time of 17 seconds, with average being the realm of 13 to 21 seconds. Noodler's Army has an average dry time of 15 seconds, well within normal. So that fast flow and average dry time is what is going to help this particular ink shade quite well. How do I find my average dry time? I average my writing samples done with an extra fine and medium nib on the Clairefontaine, Rhodia, and Tomaway River paper. Let's take a look at the writing sample. I got this ink in bottle form. It's one of my earliest Noodler's ink that I purchased, and I was straight to bottle at the time, and this is my second bottle. So, as a color, it's fantastic. I've been through a whole bottle. I'm, about here on this one. Just to give you an idea of what I think about this particular ink. To keep the writing samples consistent, I use a Jinhao 159 with a Goulet 1.1 stub. I use a Jinhao X450 with a medium nib, and a Jinhao X750 with an extra fine Goulet nib. Let's look at Clairefontaine. On Clairefontaine, we have no bleeding, no ghosting. In the 1.1, we have no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen. We get some color variation. Not a ton, not the most, we do get some. In the extra fine, we have no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen. We do get some nice color variation. I don't get as much here with this paper as I do in other cases. But we do get some color variation. 7 seconds to dry. With a medium, we have no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen. I had to prime the pen. I was having a pen problem. I primed it. Look at the color variation I get when I primed it versus before I primed it. So this is definitely one where you want to have a good amount of ink going down because the color variation you get at that point is fantastic. In the scrubby, the medium doesn't show a lot of color variation. The extra fine does. I don't know that I'm saving if I smear it with this particular ink and paper. Looking at Tomoe River, we have no bleed. We have show through. We expect that. It's Tomoe River. With the 1.1, no feather, no spread, no echo, no sheen, no halo. Little bit of color variation, not a whole lot. It gets to level out as it dries here. And on the extra fine, we have no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen. We do get color variation. It's nice. It's not the best here. Not the best here. 16 seconds to dry. With a medium, we get a nice darker green. We have no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen. Great color variation that goes on the whole way with the writing. I love this green ink. This is my green right here. 28 seconds to dry on Tomoe River, but it draws out that dry time. Looking at the scrubby, we do not see the color variation that we see up above. And that could be because just enough ink is put down and it's taking long enough that it levels out here where it didn't as much here despite that 28 seconds. I can almost never recover a smear on Tomoe River. Looking at the Rhodia, we have no bleeding, no ghosting. In the 1.1, we have no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen, nice shading. With the extra fine, no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen. We do get some shading, not a lot. It's an extra fine. It does not put down a lot of ink. 10 seconds to dry. Medium, no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen. Great color variation. Really shows what this ink can do. 13 seconds to dry. Not horrible, especially compared to that extra fine. And in a scrubby, we see a ton of color variation. On a smear, I think I could recover this. So this is good for my note taking. Moving on to Fabriano Echo Qua. No bleed. No ghosting. In the 1.1, no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen. We lose the color variation. It's just it's a little bit more absorbent paper. It's going to show in a dry time. A little bit more absorbent, but it doesn't bleed. In the extra fine, we have no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen, some color variation, not a ton. 4 seconds to dry, very fast dry time. And in the medium, we get a nice dark green, much darker than we got with the extra fine. No feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen, some nice color variation that's going on. 9 seconds to dry. And looking at the scrubby, we get a lot of the color variation in the extra fine that we did not get in the writing sample. We don't get as much color variation in this scrubby, but we got a lot more in the writing. The smear, I wouldn't be able to recover the medium, but I would be able to recover the extra fine. Apica paper. Another one of my favorite papers. We have no bleed, no ghosting. With the 1.1, I have no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen, great shading. You really get to see it in the Army. You see it in the bottom of the Noodlers, so that's great there. Extra fine, we have no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen. Not a lot of the color variation. 6 seconds to dry. Goes in a little faster, it dries a little faster, this paper. With a medium, on a medium we have no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen, great shading the whole way through, 14 seconds to dry. The scrubby shows us in the extra fine a lot of color variation. The medium shows us a nice color variation. It doesn't show up as much in the scrubby in the medium as it did with the extra fine, but it's definitely there. And on the smear, I could certainly recover these. Now I take notes on every single one of these, and what I see when I look at the notes part though is go with a flexi pen, go with a wet pen, go with a broad pen. Wet is the way to get really good shading with this ink, and that's what I'm after on it. I love the shading on this ink. It is fantastic. It's one of my top shading green inks, and that's what I have for the writing sample. Instead of finding an ink that would look like Noodler's Army, I would prefer to find an ink that will really stand out on the page. What have I chosen? Robert Oster Ng Special, because it's a beautiful orange ink, and orange and green to me look fantastic together. Before I give my opinion on this ink, if you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if it's your first time here, I would invite you to subscribe. Now, to make sure I have a range of experience with this ink, I do the writing samples. I then put this ink into a different pen for a day. I then come back, put it into a third pen, which today was the Noodler's Ahab, in order to take my notes for this video. Now, what do I think of Noodler's Army? Can you say shading? Yes. This is a great green ink. Greens were not my thing until I tried this ink. It opened up a whole new world for me. So now the big question, would I buy a bottle of this ink? You know it, and I do, and it's called Noodler's Army, and you should add it to your inky arsenal if you enjoy green inks. Thanks for watching.